Elle, what's up?
Woo! It's working.
It's been long enough since we've done a little live together.
I know. That was like, we have to do an Ask a Vegan Anything. Have to get those questions through.
Yeah, we've got a lot of people joined already right on the onset. So guys, yeah, if you've got some questions for us, please drop them in the little comment box with the question mark. We're basically just going to do a general Q&A today. Anything you want to ask us about veganism, fire away, and I guess we'll just chat in between. How's life at Vegan FTA?
Oh, it's lovely. Very vegan. It's nice making stuff that people see, and you see non-vegans like reacting and saying, oh, I feel really guilty that I consume dairy, and like the first kind of step is feeling bad about what you're doing, really. And yeah, it's nice to have something so big hopefully impacting a lot of people. So it's really good. How are you finding it?
Yeah, I feel like the luckiest guy ever, man. I love my job. So fulfilling. Yeah, we do, like, as you said, like, feels like we get a lot of vegetarians like saying they're going vegan because of Vegan FTA. Like, this is a very common like thing that I see.
I think every single Ask a Vegan we've had, someone has asked a question about dairy. Dairy seems to be the thing that's kind of like, oh, it's not that bad, right? But it's so clearly just a horrible industry. Obviously, they're all just so bad, but you know, we cover the dairy industry a lot because there's so many rights violations occurring in this particular industry. You know, like you have the exploitation, just the endless exploitation, the taking babies from their mums, you know, and it's obviously also the beef industry. So it's really interesting. I think dairy will be the first to go. So all these kind of questions about it are quite interesting.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, it does seem like I feel like there's also something about, like, don't you think like a switch from like dairy milk to like plant-based milk is like one of the least like stigmatized things? Like, I feel like it's been normalized for so long. Like, soya milk's been a thing for so long. Like, people, when I first heard of it, I just thought it was for people that were lactose intolerant. Like, I feel like there's something to do with that as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of people I know who aren't vegan drink oat milk by default because they're like, oh, it hurts my tummy, and it's like, yeah, well, it hurts my feelings. It hurts my feelings. It hurts the feelings of the cows. So that should be enough. Yeah.
Yeah, most importantly, yeah. Right? So yeah, it's a Q&A live, so please drop in your questions rather than in the feed. Just to the right, there's a little comment with a question mark in it. Drop your questions in there. Vegans and non-vegans, like, please just ask us literally anything you like. First one, pretty random. What do you eat for breakfast? I mean, I'd love to know what you eat for breakfast, Elle.
I'm usually not mentally ready for food in the morning, but I'll have some form of toast. I love toast.
Oh, I love toast, but living in this motorhome, it's like, in order for me to have toast, I have to do like a whole, like, use the grill to make toast.
Yeah. Oh no, you can't do that.
Nah, I never have toast anymore, but I love toast.
That is so sad.
It's the saddest thing ever. I just have in all seriousness, I just have granola every morning, mate, for breakfast. Granola.
You're a level 300 vegan. Just eating my granola.
Yeah. I thought that it was like a food for like grandmas back in the day. But yeah, it's not something I would have ate before I was vegan, but I absolutely love it.
Mm-hmm.
Some products having nothing about milk or eggs, but in the end, it mentioned it may contain milk, eggs, soya, or nuts. How do you take it? I'm trying to think of like.
So may contain. It says it on a lot of things. That's more of an allergy thing, if that's what they're meaning. Like, it's just because factories are, you know, making multiple things, so there could have been a risk of cross contamination. It's basically a legal thing to protect them if someone goes into anaphylaxis that they were warned that could possibly be in it, but it's not actually going to be in there. It's just for allergen reasons.
Yeah, like it might not be, it very well may not be practical to avoid all products that say may contain milk or eggs or whatever. And like, logically speaking, it's not so much like those products. It's not so much like you've made a vote for milk or eggs with your like with your money, right? It's just like, yeah, it's just one of those things. And then sorry,
it's the equivalent of going to like a grocery store and they also sell like flesh and secretions. You're not buying them, you know, but you could make an argument, oh, the money's going towards it, like the money's going towards the factory that does also manufacture goods that include animals. But you know, if you're going down that route, you're not going to be able to purchase anything. Like, I don't know a fully vegan place that gets from fully vegan manufacturers and like it doesn't also sell something like eggs or something, you know what I mean? I don't know of one. Maybe one day that'll be available and then there'll be an argument for why aren't you shopping there, but it doesn't really exist right now, I don't think.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's like a symptom of like living in a non-vegan world, right?
Mm-hmm. I just saw a question about protein in the chat, but just so you know, if you want to see, like, so we see the question, there is a comment box with a question mark. That way we'll definitely see it because the chat is just going.
Yeah. Do you remember what it was? Because feel free to answer.
It was something about protein recommendations for bodybuilding. And it's quite funny. We're both on a bodybuilding journey, aren't we?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
What do you eat?
What do I eat for protein? I just eat like, so this is one of the main things. I actually sort of covered this with Katia, the vegan powerlifter that I spoke to the other day. It's important for, if this question, like, I might be mistaken, but if this question's coming from a non-vegan person, there tends to be like a sort of mindset where you look at protein as like sourcing protein from like one thing per meal. Just remember that like as a vegan, it makes more sense to, if you want to get a high protein diet, to like think about sourcing your protein from like multiple sources and within the one meal. So for instance, like I'll quite commonly have these like wholemeal wraps that have 5 grams of protein per wrap, and I have like 3 of them if I have that for dinner, right? So that's like my source of whole grains in that dinner. It's like 3 wraps, that's like 15 grams of protein right there. Then I add like about 25 grams of protein worth of tofu. So you like add that together. Like a non-vegan will just think of their like protein from like the animal flesh that they're sourcing it from, unfortunately. So yeah, vegans will have, their meal will consist of multiple sources of protein. Yeah. What do you think of?
Yeah, so I'm one of those processed vegans. Like I eat like the vegan hams. They'll have like nearly 20 grams of protein per 100 grams. So I'll eat that because it's like, it's really lazy. But I'll eat that, you know, tofu, beans. I'll have like vegan mince and beans, and that will be like, I think that's like 70 grams to 80 grams of protein in that one meal if I eat all of that. But yeah, like tofu, beans, you can get vegan protein powders if you're concerned. There'll be like protein yogurts, stuff like that. I eat, but yeah, I eat a lot of like vegan steak strips and stuff like that. It's really high protein because it's just plant protein that they're using for that. So it's very like high in the protein and not so much in the rest. So you can easily get it. I've been doing PT. I've changed my goals, but I was bulking, and my PT wanted me to get 169 grams of protein, which is very possible, but I'm like, I can't eat quite that much, which you need to like bulk up. So you know, I'm not going to be quite having that much, but I'm still going to have like 110 grams of protein. And it's not really, once you know what you're looking for, what brands are high in protein, just have a little look and you know, where you are, and you'll find it's actually quite easy. And this whole idea that you can't get that protein is just, as you said, it's like a mindset thing. It's ingrained that you're not going to get it, but it's actually really easy, too easy for the rep that it has.
Yeah, I get like about 100 to 120 as well. I just wanted to show you for, I've got this as well, this Greek style kebab stuff, man. I love that so much.
I used
as far as
to
the
eat
process.
that.
But it's like, the word processed, right, just has like way too much of a stigma around it as well.
Yeah,
It
doesn't equate to unhealthy. Like things, as soon as you add something to it, it's going to be processed or put it to, like, I'm trying to think of an example of a really healthy thing that's processed, but I can't off the top of my head.
Tofu's processed,
tofu
right?
is processed, and it's like it's not unhealthy at all.
Yeah.
So tempeh is processed.
Yeah.
And that's like, I think, even healthier. This kind of idea, it's processed, therefore bad, it doesn't actually make sense.
Yeah.
And it's funny as well, because the same people who will say it will eat processed flesh.
yeah.
It's like,
yeah. And I think a lot of the processes are like hidden from us, so they wouldn't even be declared. It wouldn't even be declared as processed. But it's like virtually always processed, right?
Virtually always, yeah.
You guys going to VCO? We're both going to Vegan Campout, aren't we?
We'll be together.
Yes. I am majorly pumped for Campout this year.
For non-Scottish people, that means excited.
Yeah. Stoked. Sweet, we've got a question from Daryl. How many meat eaters does it take to change a light bulb? You can answer that in another submission, Daryl.
Oh, Daryl.
Our pal Daryl. Rachel, what vegan cheese is the best, and which ones melt best on food? I don't eat that much of it anymore. Like, I just like slowly stopped caring about it. But there was one I used to eat that was called like applewood smoked.
Mm-hmm.
Really tasty and like melted really, really well. But I just sort of like got lazy and stopped caring about cheese over time. What about you, Elle?
I'm not a cheese fiend, but I think there is a consensus that the best one is like a Cathedral City. Like they do vegan cheese now. Like they're all going to be doing vegan cheeses before you know it, and it's not going to look very good for the dairy industry.
Yeah, most of them melt well. I mean, Violife, if you want something with like applewood smoked, has got this like obviously this flavor going on. Like Violife just tastes more like a standard cheese, and it melts really well as well.
Yeah, that cheese has got like, it's evolved a lot. Like I've been vegan nearly 10 years, and the cheese then versus the cheese now is a different story. So.
Yeah, absolutely. For everybody that's just joining, me and Elle are basically answering any questions that you might have for vegan. So please drop them into the little comment icon with the question mark, and we'll get to them. What are your tips on going vegan? Have you got some like general tips that you give people, Elle?
Don't make it a big thing, because it's not a big thing. I think people inflate it in their heads that it's this really like, but it's just a lifestyle change. It's just a change in mindset. Habits, it's just the habits that we have when it comes to our food, when it comes to what we purchase, cosmetics, household stuff. Just make a commitment for a week that you'll look at everything, see if it's vegan, have it if it is. If it's not, then don't. And then before you know it, you'll be just realizing there and then, okay, this is vegan, so I have it. This isn't, so I don't. And it will just become part of your habits. And then before you know it, you'll start like really believing in things you already believed in, like practicing them. Like, because inherently we don't think typically, oh yeah, actually stabbing animals is absolutely fine. We don't think that. So before you know it, your mindset will shift in front of your very own eyes. And yeah, just don't make it a big thing. And just do a little bit of research, use the Google for, tips in your area. And a good thing as well would be maybe joining local groups and becoming familiar with people in your area who are also vegan, so you have some support.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would definitely recommend that as well, because like I never I never really did that. But the more vegan friends that I sort of acquire over time, like the more grateful I am for it. So like if I could go back, I'd have nipped that in the bud. Actually, it would have helped a lot with the initial. There's like a emotional journey that you go through as a vegan.
Yeah.
There's like harder times, and that stuff would have all been easier had I had more like vegan friends earlier. And I would just like echo what you said about like, so if your mindset is there, you're just like almost all the way there, or you're practically all the way there as far as like being vegan if you have a like vegan mindset.
Yeah.
And then it's just about obviously then doing your best to make the informed choices to boycott like whichever things that are obviously contributing to animal exploitation. But yeah, like as you say, it's like not like totally not a big thing. Everything that you need to like avoid, there's just like always another option for. As far as like clothing and cosmetics and all these things, like it's just never been anything that I've ever struggled with. And the food thing, like if you aren't like the most incredible cook ever or whatever, you can just swap out like the protein for a different like a plant-based protein and just stick to the same meals. So yeah, it is a hell of a lot easier than what people make out. Every vegan says like used to say, oh, I could never go vegan, and then when they go vegan, they're like, this was the easiest thing ever. Like, what the hell?
Yeah. And then you feel really like, why didn't I do this sooner? That's why you see the meme that's like, the thing I regret about being vegan is that I didn't do it sooner. And it rings true. It's like, why did I make a big thing out of this when it was just like I don't know about you, but my views on animals haven't really changed since I was little. I always thought they were deserving of compassion. I always thought they should be left alone. It was just actually then I didn't have that discomfort of, you know, oh, I'm doing some things that are making like their life horrible, are killing them, you know, taking their life from them. So yeah, that's definitely a benefit, knowing that you can actually turn around and no longer be uncomfortable with that, because it really does make people uncomfortable. So
it's like that it's like that thing that we see around often in this movement on social media, just like a meme that we see. I used to go to the zoo because I love animals, and now I boycott the zoo because I love animals.
Yeah,
like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Daryl earlier on said, how many meat eaters does it take to change a light bulb? I think we all knew he was going to say none. They prefer to stay in the dark. Fantastic.
I'd heard it before, but I'd actually forgotten. I was like, yeah, what's the joke? And then now I remember.
Thank you for everything you do, guys. Oh, really appreciate that. Thanks for all your support as well. Like, that's awesome. I agree. There's loads of vegan options now for cheese. There isn't really any excuse. Absolutely. And yeah, thanks so much for your kind words.
Thank you.
Do you agree, as a vegan, the more ingredients are listed on a product, the better to avoid it?
No, because if I make a stir fry now, and I add bean sprouts and tofu, is it suddenly getting worse because I add bean sprouts, tofu, peppers, mushrooms, mange tout? Is it suddenly becoming a worse meal for me just because I'm adding more ingredients to it? I wouldn't say that follows. It just depends what the ingredient is. Would be more the problem. Is it a bad ingredient? Like, is it something that like is bad for you? It is more the thing I'd be concerned with. So that in itself wouldn't be a rule that I would personally follow.
To be charitable to you.
Yes.
Ted,
sorry, I wasn't. I mean, I'm sorry.
No, not at all. Like, not at all. You'll see what I mean when I proceed with the point. Like, to be charitable to you, if you meant like one product, right? I'm assuming you mean some sort of like plant-based meat thing. The same can be done for like there's these memes that exist that say, oh, plant-based burger, like here's all the ingredients. Beef burger ingredients 100% beef, but you can like then you could break down the 100% beef to all the chemical compounds, and there's this massive long list of like words that you don't understand. Like, but why does no one have that attitude towards meat? Like, you can break the animal flesh down into like all the different quote unquote ingredients or chemicals that are in there. Like, I've seen that's been done, and ultimately, right, this all stems from, I'm almost 100% sure this all stems from this. And because this has been on my mind sometimes, like, I'll look at the ingredients of like these plant-based meats, right, and I'm like, yeah, like, it just says like wheat, pea protein, like all this normal stuff, like just whole foods ingredients, whatever, that have been processed. It's like the word methyl cellulose or something that like got everybody like terrified about these, which is like a binder. It's like a vegetable binder. It's 100% safe to consume. Most like dissolvable capsules are made of it, like as far as like taking medication, supplements, stuff like that. It's that word that everybody like freaked out about, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay.
Methyl cellulose, because it sounds like the chemical thing that would be bad for your body. But it's like not dangerous in relatively large quantities. It's not dangerous at all to your body. And yeah, like you can break down, as I said earlier, you can break down meat into like chemical words. Thank you. I'm vegetarian right now, and I'm 15. Cool. Been vegetarian for 1 year now because of your videos. Do you have some feedback?
I'd say like being so young and making like a change forward is a really great thing. I'd be interested in what is stopping the vegan, because obviously we're vegan FTA, not vegetarian FTA. So it's like, what is the obstacle with the other things that means that you're not vegan? I'd be interested, because we were talking earlier about how there are a lot of vegetarians who follow the page, but obviously we cover a lot of dairy, we cover a lot of eggs, we cover a lot of other stuff that has the same outcomes to the animals. So it's really interesting, because I've never personally, I don't know about you, I've never been vegetarian. So like, I don't know, I haven't experienced the mindset. So I'd be interested in knowing what it is you consume or what you buy that doesn't follow the vegan philosophy, and why that might be.
Yeah, it's a really good question. So to answer your question, Elle, like I've never went vegetarian.
Me neither.
I had like a plant-based for the environment phase for a long time, man. Like I was aware of like food choices and their impact on the environment, like before I went vegan. And so that's what I wanted to add to this comment, and I absolutely appreciate that. Yeah, like it's so incredible that you're this that you're obviously aware and want to make compassionate choices at 15. Like I didn't think about anything this deep at that age at all, right? I just wanted to say, so like vegetarian is like what we consider to be a diet, right? It's like a diet choice. And so just to like be clear on it, like veganism is, so to like identify as vegan is to say that you are against like using animals, like you're against the idea of exploiting animals. And the reason why we're against using them is like the same reason why we might be against using people against their will. We don't want to use others because they deserve, non-human animals deserve their right to like freedom and bodily autonomy, and obviously especially not to be killed, just for the same reasons that we deserve those things, right? And our moral responsibility to act on it, or to not do that, to not use them and exploit them and kill them. Our responsibility lies within the reality that we don't have to. Because we don't have to, we shouldn't. And so, yeah, vegetarianism's like a diet choice, but veganism goes much further than that. And Elle, and if you're still here, just as a reminder, like Elle asked the like great question, like what are the What could you repeat that question again, Elle, actually?
Yeah, what are the components of your lifestyle? Like, what are the things that you're doing that mean that you're vegetarian and not actually vegan? Like, what is stopping you from making that step and identifying with that and, you know, living up to that label and a lifestyle? That would be the question.
Yeah, and we're aware that you may be under the what's the better word for like control, like guardianship of
Parents.
parents right now. You won't have ultimate freedom to make your own choices, and we would just say that, like to say as well, that if there's like pressures from that environment, that like soon in the future, like you'll be able to make your own choices as well, without that problem. And for like new people that are joining, me and Elle are answering like any questions that vegans or non-vegans, anybody, questions that you have for a vegan, drop them in the comment box with a question mark at the bottom right of the screen so we can answer them. Can you imagine what the actual cost of dairy would be without subsidies? Yeah. And that goes further than dairy, right?
My understanding is that the dairy industry wouldn't be able to survive without subsidies or lobbying in the US. Yeah, it would go under. It is like that. That's my current understanding. And you would see as well, it would be a great benefit because a lot of things that aren't vegan just contain the tiniest amount of milk powder. Like, you know, there's so many like sweets and things like that would be absolutely fine if they didn't add that tiny bit of milk or a bit of like it would be so, there would be suddenly so much more of like already quite an abundant lifestyle. And yeah, that cost, that's the thing, people will buy what's affordable. So that's why people really talk about targeting you know, the subsidies, the lobbying, because if that's gone and we're not paying for it anymore, then people would suddenly be like, I'm not paying that, I'm going to buy the vegan option. And that would be a very bad time for the dairy industry. And I think that will happen. It's quite inevitable, and I cannot wait for it, quite honestly.
Yeah. I've actually got a couple things to mention. Hopefully I don't forget one of them. What you're saying about like the adding milk to things, like there's a common like misconception with people that, and I totally get where it comes from, right? That if there's like animal products in something, the idea that people have is that like in order to make that, it must have that, and we won't be able to have that without the milk being added. And the reason why we have this is because of the milk, and that's not even, and that is just isn't the case. Because people think like, but all these things have got animal products in them, so it's like if I boycott animal products, then all these things I can't have them anymore.
No.
And that's totally a misconception. I'm pretty sure the reason why there's milk and cheese always added to everything is just because of like isn't it just because of like they produce so much that they just don't know what to do with it.
It produce so much, it's a cheap ingredient. Yeah, they have to like oversupply, to my understanding. I'm not like familiar with completely how this works, but so could be incorrect, but that's my understanding. Yeah,
I remember seeing something about how there was this, and this would have been like a long time ago when this started, but I remember seeing something about like the dairy industry was like paying like big companies like McDonald's and stuff like that to just add cheese to more stuff, like just get cheese added into everything, because there's just this massive like surplus of milk and milk products. And I knew like once when I made one point I'd forget the other one, so
no.
But I had a couple things to say. But there was something I seen. I remember I reacted to a video for Vegan FCA, and while I was researching the subject matter, so America, and I researched the figures for the UK as well. I just happened to remember the American figure better, and it was about like the price of a basically like a Big Mac without subsidies. And so like America subsidizes with taxpayers' money like $30 billion plus a year to make meat affordable. And it's like removing all that, what a burger that costs a few dollars would be like $30. It would be like the most extortionate thing ever. And this was the Berkeley University of California that did this study or whatever, and they basically showed that like this, your average like fast food chain burger would be like $30 basically. So yeah, when everybody moans about like vegan products being expensive, guess what? Plant-based products are not subsidized, even a fraction of that.
And
so,
you're paying for it anyway through your taxes, like on top of that. So you are paying for it like against your will, and it is an expense. So it's just, you don't see it. It's like a hidden cost.
Yeah. So many problems with it. Satan Inside, hey Josh, man, need to keep this one open to read it. Hey Josh, is there anything either of you have discovered recently that you weren't aware contributed to non-human animal exploitation? Yes. I'll let Elle go first though.
I don't think recently. I think someone mentioned like of interest, like lava lamps not being vegan, but really? I don't know what the ingredient is, and I was like, I never thought of lava lamps.
Really, that's so strange.
Yeah.
Vegan FTA, so Jordi Kazamachana of Vegan FTA wrote an article recently about something like maybe this will be common knowledge. We have a supermarket in the UK called the Co-op. They like ditched a coconut milk supplier, or they ditched some coconut milk because the supplier in Thailand uses like monkeys as like laborers to get the coconuts. Like it was, I didn't know about this, and I thought that was pretty insane that we're using like non-human animals as like workers. And in the photo for the article, there's like monkeys and with chains around their necks. Like we're like exploiting them for like labor. I'm sure that some people wouldn't have been aware of that. So we probably haven't seen it all yet.
No. No.
Yeah. Thank you for your feedback. Oh yeah. So I'm not sure if this is your name. Addison is like part of the handle. So this is the 15-year-old that's talking about vegetarianism. Thank you for your feedback. I will turn vegan. Awesome. I've been trying, but cheese is so hard to not eat. But I'm getting sick of eating it and then feeling awful. Right? Yeah.
Well, we were talking about cheese. There are vegan cheeses. Obviously, it depends on where you live. The accessibility, it might be a bit more difficult. But you can also make your own cheese. You know, that is something. There are recipes. You know, the vegans who came before us were like, how do I make something that I miss and that isn't available? And look up recipes. You might even be able to make some yourself. Like you can make cheese, like nacho cheese sauce from potatoes and carrots, with jalapeno brine and stuff like that. You can do that. You don't have to miss out. So you don't even have to miss these things. So there are alternatives available. You just have to maybe get a bit creative. And of course, there's things like Nooch, which are really cheesy. They have a nutty, cheesy flavor. So you can still get those flavors. And before you know it, you won't even remember the taste, really, of like dairy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to reiterate, and it's not the answer that everybody loves to hear, right? But I'll give it anyway. Like I used to love like all the animal products. Trust me, all of them, right? But what I want to say is like try to understand the why a bit more. So like it's fine that like, and by the way, really appreciate and hope that it is something you can do as soon as possible as far as going vegan. Like, and appreciate that you seem open to that. But it's like understand the why. Like, yeah, like cheese, it might make you feel awful because of like lactose or whatever, but ultimately it's like what the cows are going through, right? And like, as I said, like I replaced cheese with vegan cheese for a while, but then I just sort of like, not that I didn't like it, it was great, but then over time I'm just like, I don't care about cheese anymore. Cheese is not a need. It's just something that we want, and it's the why that really matters, and it's the why that like keeps you for life and dedicated to boycotting and avoiding these products, man.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to say that, and I know it's not the answer that everybody loves to hear, but guess what? It doesn't have to be because there's vegan cheese.
Mm-hmm.
Another effing vegan. Jamie, what's up?
Hello.
Will you be at VCO? Will we be at VCO, Elle?
Yeah, we've answered that, funnily enough, in this one. We'll be there together, Kenny and I.
Yeah, just before you came in, Jamie, we answered that. But yeah, we'll both be there, man, and I really look forward to meeting you in person, dude.
Is he going to be there?
Yeah, Jamie's going to be there.
Cool.
Jamie's going to be there, and who else have we worked with that's going to be there? Chase. Chase is going to be
Chase
there.
is going to be there. Okay.
Yeah.
I know nothing.
Like,
I never. I'm like, wow. Okay, go with the flow.
Campout this year is going to be amazing, man. If there's any new people joined, me and Elle are answering any questions that you might have for us, preferably in the little comment box with the question mark in, rather than in the feed that the normal chat feed. Thoughts on honey? Vegans seem to be split on it.
Well, I'll let you answer this one because last time I went on a bit of a rant about it.
I see. Yeah, so it's animal exploitation. Insects are animals. Vegans are against animal exploitation. There's no way that you could be vegan and for honey. You can't be vegan and pro honey at the same time. Simple as that. As far as like the ways in which it's bad for bees, like I'm not the most clued up ever. I don't feel that I have to be, but I know that there's some things like cutting the wings off of the queen bee, and then there's issues around like weakening the gene pool of like local bee populations. There's all sorts of issues with honey, but ultimately like it's animal exploitation, and we're like taking the honey from them.
Yeah,
basically.
And there's artificial insemination, and there is like killing of the queens.
Yeah, and like killing of like entire hives and stuff. Like if they're not producing properly or for whatever reason, there's just like they'll just like massacre the whole hive. There's also all sorts of issues, but really the problem is like vegans don't view animals as resources. So viewing bees as resources is not. It's not vegan. It's not vegan. And as far as questions are landing, that's the last one that we're on. So I suppose we'll end the live here. But it was really good hanging out with you, Elle. Again, we need to do more of these. And do you want to talk a little bit before we go about what our plans are with like live content? Like we've got some cool stuff coming up.
Yeah, so we're going to obviously, we want to keep featuring like other vegans and doing the live streams on here on Instagram. We also put them on YouTube so that people can watch them on the replay, and it's a bit of a different format, a bit easier to watch perhaps. But we also want to do live shows where we go through the news, where we have like multiple people on. We're kind of figuring out what it is exactly we're going to do. It'll be a bit of a tester, but that should be coming up on Monday, I think.
Oh,
so
the first
I think so.
Go on YouTube.
Yeah, go on YouTube and Facebook. So you need to be following essentially on other platforms. Vegan FCA isn't just on Instagram; it is also on Facebook, Threads, Twitter, YouTube, like everywhere basically that you can imagine. Vegan FCA is. So be sure if you use other platforms to be following and supporting there as well, because there might be stuff that you've missed that you're gonna want to watch.
Yeah, and these obviously Instagram streams are a lot more like simple. These streams will be like more sophisticated, maybe yeah, just like more visually interesting. We'll be like reacting to things. Obviously, we've got the stream queen here, Elle, so that knows all about streaming. So
No,
it's
nothing.
gonna be super super awesome, and just something like, yeah, something new for vegan FTA, and I'm really 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 excited about it. So yeah,
Fantastic. We're gonna have a lovely time.
it's gonna be awesome. It was really good hanging out with you for a bit, and we'll like,
Wonderful as always, Kenny. Lovely to see you.
awesome. Enjoy the rest of your day. Appreciate it a
You
lot.
too. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for joining us, guys.
Bye
Peace and love.
bye.